Hi, good afternoon, everyone. There are a few students who are unable to join this session because of their work schedules. So, first of all, I'd like to introduce uh, Ms. Posali, and she is our clinical research trainer, and she has a vast experience in working in the clinical research domain in IQVIA, another company also. So today we'll be having the orientation session, introductory session for clinical research, and she will be your trainer with one more trainer for the entire clinical research course in this program. So, Posali, it's over to you, and the students are there, and there are many students who will be joining this batch within a day or two. So we can start this session. It's over to you, Posali. Am I audible?
Yes. Thank you, Rajesh. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing good.
Please,
Good
you
afternoon,
all,
ma'am.
please, you unmute yourself.
Yes.
Keep yourself unmute while the classes or the like sessions are going on, so that it should be interactive. Every time, like we ask for to unmute yourself and ask question. That is not like the right way of studying. It's like a classroom study. Every time you should keep your mic off for the entire session. Don't worry, there will be some noise. We understand this, but keep your mic unmute. Everyone,
Okay.
Basit, you
Can
can
I
mute
get a
yourself.
hi from everyone on the call? It would be good to know each other. And if possible, please come on camera if you are all camera ready.
So, Harsha, can you
Am I
start?
audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Harshit, can you start with?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Harshit.
Myself Arshit. I am
Okay.
studying M.Pharm in Department of Pharmacy Practice, and I am from Bangalore.
Oh, great. Where in Bangalore?
Ma'am in Batrayanpura.
Great. Next, who wants to take it up? Harsha?
Harsha is from
Good
my team.
morning.
Harsha and Basit is from my team.
Oh, okay.
So, Prerna, just
Alok
can you come?
or
Yeah,
Prerna, anybody? Okay.
good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Myself
afternoon.
Prerna, myself Prerna Sanjay Gaikwad, and I have done my MSc in chemistry last year. And recently, recently I'm working in Tata Memorial Hospital as an EDP technician in Mumbai. Thank you.
That's great. Alok, can we have you? Introduction, please.
Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon, sorry.
No problem. Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Myself, Alok Shrivastava. I completed my B Pharma, Bachelor in Pharmacy in 2023, and right now currently working in Operation Department.
Working where? Sorry.
Operation Department, like
Okay.
in operations, yes, ma'am. In Delhi.
Yes. Got it. Basit?
Basit is my team member. So, we can, like, Misbah, just can you
Yes,
introduce us?
good afternoon, ma'am. I am Misbah, and recently I completed my doctorate of pharmacy, and I am from UP Bijnor.
Great. So we have most of our, I think all of you from pharma background. So you have a vast knowledge of pharmacology, about pharmacies and everything, right? About medicines, drug development, drug discovery. You guys have a quite good knowledge about that field. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as we start, and as Mr. Rajesh has already told, please try to keep the session as interactive as possible because that's how we learn from each other. Okay. So it would be good if you can just mute yourself during the class. If you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself and ask me then and there if you have any sort of doubts. And if I ask you any sort of questions, I would expect all of you to unmute yourself and answer me whenever I'm asking you any sort of questions, if you have understood or not. That's how we can run the class smoothly. I hope that it's understandable.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so since today's is an orientation class, we are not going to dive deep into the subject today. I don't want to, to just put so much of too many information in your head right now. But before we start, one thing that actually I always do is that I want to know what made you choose clinical research. Why are you interested? There should be something which has pushed you to pursue this field, right? Yes, no. What do you know about this subject? What made you show interest in this subject? What are your plans?
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Um I am a pharmacy student studying from pharmacy practice.
Okay. Yeah.
So in pharmacy practice, job roles are clinical research, pharmacovigilance, clinical data management. So we can go
Mm-hmm.
in these fields, ma'am.
Okay, so that's
Oh,
how you have gained interest in this field, is it?
yes, ma'am.
Great, great. Okay. Anybody else? Actually, I want to know from each one of you. So, Prerna.
Yes, ma'am. So I am working in Tata Memorial Hospital and I manage the medical documentation. So uh, that's how I came to this platform and I got more interested in this field.
Okay. Okay. Alok.
Yes, ma'am. Like Harshit said, we are from pharma background and we have a subject in our last semester, pharmacovigilance. So I have personally interest in pharmacovigilance, like what the ADR's effect on a drug. So that's why I have deeply interest in pharmacovigilance, like how the drugs
Oh,
happen in the ADRs. Like yes, ma'am.
okay. Great. Good that you have some sort of clarity in what you want to do and why you have chosen this field. That's good to see. Okay, so further not wasting any more time, I'll quickly start with what clinical research is. Okay, any idea what clinical research is, or what is clinical trial? What is clinical research? Why clinical research? Why do we do clinical research? What is the background?
Ma'am,
Any layman
clinical
idea you have? Yes, go ahead.
clinical research is conducted to check whether the drug is safe, efficacy when given to the patients, different kinds of patients.
Okay, okay, cool. Any more? Any other answers? Anything, whatever you can think of. Okay, no problem.
There
Let
is one
me.
input from sorry, there's just one input for these students. So see, what I feel from this batch, maybe because it's your first batch, so you are like hesitating in speaking up. Just don't act like a student of a school or like the like college where the students hide from the faculty to answer. The more you answer, the more you make the mistakes, the more you will learn. And it is like I in the last session also told, it's a very competitive world, and until unless you don't have the like guts or the capability to stand in front of others, you cannot win the race. So always answer whatever you know, don't know, even answer wrong, give the wrong answer also. So the trainer or other person sitting can correct you. Fine. So always like Miswa, I am seeing this, you are always silent. So always Miswa, Alok, and Harshit, Prerna, speak up, give the answer, whether it's right or wrong. Sorry, Pasali, I interrupted in that. So
No
please.
problem, no problem. That's absolutely correct. And also, like, if you interact, that will improve your, that will give you a confidence in speaking up in front of the interviewer. When you start giving interview, you will be much more confident in speaking up. I think that boosts your confidence a lot. So just try to be as much as interactive as possible. Okay, no problem. So, let me just share my screen and you guys can let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
can you
Yes,
click on
ma'am.
Yes,
presentation?
ma'am.
Full screen should be there.
Okay.
I think you should press the F5 button and then reshare the screen.
Oh, is it not visible?
It's a visible, but it's a smaller screen there, so it's not properly visible.
I have expanded it to full view mode.
No, no, you have to reshare the screen, or you can share
Okay,
the entire screen and then it can work.
okay, okay. Just 1 second. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay. So let's talk about clinical research and the opportunities or options that you will have once you are thorough with this field, once you have a proper knowledge of what you want to do, which could be the right choice for you. Because clinical research, as we know, is a huge field, is a vast field, and as far as or as long as humanity is there, as far as humans are involved, there would be disorders, there would be diseases, there would be drugs, medicines, there will be lots and lots of discoveries, there would be lots and lots of experiments happening, and thus more the disorder diseases, there would be medicines coming up, right? Do you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So since there would be, of course, many experiments happening, many trials happening, there would be drugs discovery happening. So obviously, we need to do some sort of trial to see, as rightly said by one of you, that whether those drugs are efficient in curing the disease or not, right? We just cannot simply do some sort of experiment, discover a drug, and later on come to see that the drugs are not efficient in curing the disease, and there was just waste of money and lots of efforts were put into it and nothing just happened, right? That is where the clinical research, clinical trial comes in, where you have many domains in it. These are divided into various domains where each department or each field, it's all the people who are involved in conducting the trial would be looking into various sectors of the trial to ensure that the drug that we are experimenting on, or the drug that is getting discovered, right, these are efficient, and along with that, those are safe for human consumption. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, have you ever actually thought that there is a perfect job for you, but you just not have found it yet? right? You have done pharmacy, you have interest in medicine, you have interest in as you said, you have interest in CDM or PV. You know what it is, but what exactly happens in there, you are not very sure about that. So we are here for you. You are motivated, you are informed, you are more than that, you are interested in science and medical career, so that is why you have chosen this platform, right? Just be assured that the future in clinical research is of course bright, and it is one that you want to be a part of. It's a highly lucrative and expanding field. And as I already told you, that obviously as the world is evolving, as there is so much of diseases and disorders are happening, and we come across many new disorders, right, like COVID, which we never knew about. So of course trials are there. So when trials are there, there are finances involved in it. So the trial market globally was estimated to be around 80.7 billion in 2024 itself. So just imagine, as the world evolves, or as the world will evolve furthermore, how much more finances will be involved, how much more the estimation could be, right? It will cross more than 100 billions in probably in 2025, right? So the experts predict that the global market will actually hit $123.5 billion by 2030. Just imagine the amount. So now let's see what exactly is clinical research. It's a branch of medical research that involves people and aims to determine the effectiveness and safety of the medications, devices, diagnostic products, and treatment regimens intended for improving the human health. One thing that you need to understand is clinical trial or clinical research does not only happen, or not only do those sort of research or trial on medicines. It is also done for medical devices, for diagnostic products that you see in the laboratories, and any sort of treatment other than those medicines, those which are taken orally or intravenously. Understood? So for example, the devices could be any devices that you see in the hospital, could be a simple stethoscope, could be anything that is used in the pharmaceutical industries for production of the medicine, could be any device that is used, for example an x-ray machine. So all those kind of medicines which comes in touch with the human body, which has an impact on the human body. So along with the medicines and as well as those devices, those products and treatments, any kind of experiments that are done on those are termed to be as clinical research. So it's basically a branch of medical research that involves people, because we are involving the people or human subjects in medical research. When we are working on the human subjects, when we are experimenting on the medicines, by giving the medicines to the human being, those humans are known as subjects. Okay, so that involves people. And what is the aim of clinical research? It is to determine whether those medicines, the devices, the products, or the treatment that we are thinking about are safe, as well as whether those are efficient or not. Clear? Ultimately, they need to be used in such a way that they can improve the health of the humans. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So these research procedures are designed for prevention, treatment, diagnosis, or understanding of the disease symptoms. Not only for curing the disease, they can also be used in a way to prevent the disease, to diagnose the disease, and also to understand the symptoms of the disease. The clinical research and trials are an important step in developing new medicines that can safely be used and distributed through clinics and hospitals to thousands of people admitted each day, and thousands more who can access the health service through other avenues as well. So why do you think that you can actually get involved in clinic, and you can choose clinical research, and that could be the just the right job for you? You can do a job that is flexible. You can work with people because you are going to get interact with the doctors, you get to interact with patients, you get to interact with anybody who is involved in conducting the clinical trial, with the sponsors, the scientists. you are tech savvy, and so much more. And of course, you can actually make a difference in the world. Either you are directly involved with the patients, or you are working back end, either in CDM or PV or in CR, that is clinical research, as a coordinator, as a monitor. You are actually bringing some changes in the human lives and thus impacting the patients in a larger role. So, for example, like clinical research, as I told you, can make all the difference when it comes to saving people's lives or improving their quality of life. Not only do clinical research trials, they do trial on the new drugs or medicines for general use by population, such as we know that in 2020 the world was hit by COVID, right? So vaccines for COVID-19, and unlike, if you are aware of it, see, clinical research is something, that experiment that we are doing on that particular medicine, it just does not happen in a month or so, right? It takes years and years of effort to discover the medicine, to understand the efficacy of the medicine and safety of the medicine. So that almost takes around 15 to 20 years just for a product that you see on the market today. Probably the experiment has started back in 2000, and that is how you have come to know about that product in 2020 or 2024. Isn't it fascinating? However, most of the cases, of course, we do not actually come across pandemics, epidemics quite often. But when such things happen, for example, when the world was hit by COVID back in 20, end of 2019, start of 2020, so the vaccine, it almost took around almost 7 to 8 months of time to come into the market. You know about it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, such vaccines for COVID-19, they also tackle diseases that were previously thought to be incurable, such as heart diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, nervous system disorders like Alzheimer's, and cancer. So, even if the work you do might not result in an immediate breakthrough, but it will actually be put into a database wherein other scientists can actually go and look into the database, look at the work that you have done, the research that you have done, and ultimately use that as a base to produce or create something which can actually bring out some difference. For example, in the development of the COVID-19 vaccines, which was carried out so rapidly, as I told you, because the researchers did not have to start from scratch. We know that it was a part of a family called SARS-CoV-2, which is a member of the coronavirus family. And the researchers has found that there are hundreds of coronavirus, which including four that can cause common cold. So what does it mean? It means that already there were some sort of experiments that were done, or there were some sort of research that were done for the coronavirus. The one that actually hit and caused a pandemic back in 2020 was CoV-2, which is a member of coronavirus. It was not directly a whole family of coronavirus. So that is the reason the scientists did not take years and years of time to actually bring out a medicine. They already had some sort of data in their database wherein some research was already previously done on coronavirus, and then using that information, they rapidly produced or rapidly bought out some medicine, because obviously that was the need of the hour. And we got Covaxin and other vaccines that you have taken. That is what it is said. It does not necessarily require that all the work that you do in while being participating in the clinical trial or conducting the clinical trial will bring an immediate impact to the patient or have an immediate effect on the patient. Your work can actually be put into a database wherein others can use those kind of, or the information from the work that you have done, and later then they can use those information for actually bring out or produce something more meaningful, and which can actually help in curing or doing some sort of treatment to the patients. So while considering a career in clinical research, there are various options available for you, which will of course require different skills and interest. So these roles can play an essential role in ensuring that the medicines are safe and efficient for new treatments to the patient. So what are the common and impactful career scope while being in clinical research? You can be a clinical research coordinator, you can choose to be a clinical research associate. If you wish, if you are interested in regulations, if you are more interested in rules and regulations, or the ICA GCP guidelines, or the local and the global regulatory bodies, then you can choose to be a regulatory affairs specialist. If you are interested in clinical data management part of the clinical research, you can be a part of that as well, which is known as clinical data manager or a clinical data management. You can go into that field. You can be a clinical research scientist if you wish to. Also, if you are interested in monitoring or focusing on how the trial is happening, whether these are following, whether they are compliant to the ICGCP guideline, to the protocol, whether it is happening as per the requirement or not, you can choose to be a monitor. Something, okay, if you are more interested in understanding how efficiently the medicines are performing in the market, whether they're safe while being introduced into the patient, are there any complaints for the medicines or not, then you can choose the field called as pharmacovigilance. So these are the various options that you can choose from, and as we go through in the next classes, we will read about each of the responsibilities of this department and of the people who are involved in the clinical trial, which will give you a broader expect or an idea of how the departments function. And probably as we go, and as you develop much more interest into the field, you will be very much clear with which field you exactly want to go into. So if we have to look at what is the responsibility of a clinical research coordinator, so basically they're responsible for assisting with the patient recruitment, obtaining informed consent, collection data, ensuring protocol adherence. They work closely with the patients, the research teams to support the smooth implementation of the trial. So few things that you will come across as we move further or move ahead in our next classes, few terms that you will always come across, and you have to remember those terminologies, because those are the terminologies you are going to use for the rest of your life, as long as you wish to or you choose to stay in this field. Okay, first thing is sponsors, protocol, subjects, principal investigators. So these are the common terminologies that you are going to come across and you are going to use for the rest of your life, as long as you are into this field. So what is this clinical research coordinator's responsibility? They are basically responsible for recruiting patients. Can anybody tell me what do you understand here by the term recruiting patients? Anything?
Ma'am,
Don't have to be scientifically correct, but whatever you understood, yeah.
patients are involved in the study by obtaining informed consent form.
Okay,
Ma'am,
that's correct that they are involved in the study, but what is recruitment of the patient means?
to choosing patient for clinical trials and other research by their on basis like they what they are diseases, or by their uh, uh, s- uh, age factors and many more factors.
Correct, good. So basically, patient recruitment means, depending on the kind of clinical trial or depending on the kind of medicines that the research is going on or happening, right, we need certain type of patients for that particular trial. For example, I am a sponsor. What do you mean by sponsors? Sponsors are none but those organization or a body who are sponsoring the clinical trial. They could be a researcher themselves, they could be some organization or pharmaceutical industry themselves, they could be the doctor himself, if he wants to carry out that particular clinical trial. So that means by the term sponsor, you get to know it. Sponsors are somebody who is sponsoring the clinical trial, who
Ma'am,
is
even
initially showing an interest in the clinic. Sorry.
even universities are sponsoring.
Correct. Institutions, universities, could be some any organization, could be any pharmaceutical industry, could be the doctor himself, could be an individual sponsorer. So somebody who is initially showing interest in conducting the clinical trial or doing the research on a particular medicine or a medical device or a technology, right? So now patient recruitment means,
Ma'am,
for
1 minute.
example, if I am a yes,
Ma'am, to be sponsor, what is the qualification required for sponsoring? Whether you
sponsoring
should be
quality.
from a medical field or any other field also.
See, sponsors basically the requirement is that they need to be medically, sorry, they need to be scientifically sound of what they are doing, right? They need to have an idea. Of course, the sponsors can be somebody who is a doctor. So if he is a doctor, he will be have to be MBBS, MD, right? Or he can be somebody who is having the idea of that particular clinical trial, of what trial is happening or what medicine he is going to work on. So of course, the qualification when it comes to that, he needs to be scientifically sound. So depending on that, the sponsors can actually sponsor a clinical trial. Am I clear?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. So as I was telling you, so basically recruitment of patient means, for example, if I am a sponsor and I have decided to go ahead and do the research on it, on the particular disease, for example, a bone cancer, I cannot go and recruit a patient who is not suffering from bone cancer, right? I need to have some sort of patients who are already dealing with that disease, who are already suffering in the because of bone cancer. Am I right? Now there will be some age factors involved in that. For example, I need only patients who are falling in that particular age group, maybe for example from the age of 18 to age of 65, right? So I'll have to choose patients who are only falling in that age group, cannot be less than 18, cannot be more than 65. Understood? So that is what we have, many ways of recruiting patients, to choose patients. For example, there could be online recruitment, there could be advertisements given, there could be a word of mouth, and then patients will be involved, they will be coming in and they will be showing their interest that they wants to involve in the particular clinical trial. And that is how I'll get a bunch of patients who are going to actively participate in my trial, right? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So obtaining the informed consent, so as you already could have understood from the term informed consent, that means we need to gather some consent from the patients that they are voluntarily participating in the trial. There is no pressure on them, nobody can force them to participate in the trial. So we have, there is a particular form that will be everything about the trial, that is what is going to happen to the patient, how the patients are going to be recruited, information, enough information about the clinical trial that the patient must know about the clinical trial and what they are participating in. Every detail about that will be mentioned on that form, that will be given to the patients. Patient is going to read through all of that, they're going to put a signature, and then they're going to give a consent that yes, they are willing to voluntarily participate in the clinical trial. So that is known as obtaining the informed consent from them. Then the CRCs are also involved in collecting the data. Collecting data in the sense, when the clinical trial is happening, there of course the data, we will be collecting data from the patient on real time basis, right? So those data collection is the responsibility of the clinical research coordinators. Along with that, they are also going to ensure that the clinical trial at every particular site is happening as per the protocol, right? Before we start a clinical trial, there is a particular document called as protocol, wherein, which is also known as backbone of the clinical trial, wherein every detail about that particular study will be mentioned, right from what is the disease, what is the medicine under experiment, what, how many subjects are involved or should be involved, how the clinical trial is going to be conducted. Each and every detail about that particular study will be mentioned in that protocol. So it is the responsibility of everyone who is involved in conducting the clinical trial to ensure that the trial is happening as per the protocol. And along amongst them, who is mainly responsible to ensure that it is happening, it is the CRCs. Clear? So they are the one who works closely with the patients and the research teams to support the smooth implementation of the trial. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Clinical research associates are responsible for mainly monitoring the clinical trial sites. That is, sites in the sense wherever the clinical trial is happening. Okay. They are responsible for verifying the data that is being collected, ensure regulatory compliance. They will also be ensuring the safety and of the subjects, study protocols, and they play a crucial role in maintaining the integrity and quality of the clinical trial data. Regulatory affairs specialists are none but those who are responsible for working with the regulatory bodies, submission of the regulatory files, um, maintain regulatory documents for approval, right? So they are the one who are who are going to work closely with the local or the global regulatory bodies as per the nature or as per the trial that is happening. They must stay informed about changing regulations and liaise with their agencies to ensure compliance. And for them, the most important skill should be attention to detail. They should have thorough knowledge about any changes in the regulations if it has come, and understanding of the regulatory requirements, which is very much essential for this role. Data managers are none but the people who are involved in the clinical trial data management. They are the one who are going to play with the data that we collect during the clinical trial, manage the data, set up the database, filter the data, clean data, and then forward those data to the next department for them to put the data into literature, so that that can be again forwarded to the final regulatory bodies for them to approve the clinical trial. So clinical data management or data managers, they play a vital role in overseeing the data collection. As I told you, like they are the one who are going to collect or see the data collection, whether there are any mistakes in collection of the data. They're going to clean the data. They are going to set up the database, manage the database for the clinical trial data. They are also going to ensure that the data quality is maintained and compliance with industry standards, contributing to the integrity and accuracy. Okay, so if you have understood this part, I have one question for you. Why do you think, or do you think that the data that we collect during a clinical trial, okay, or what do you think data could be? Like, what sort of data do we collect during the clinical trial?
The efficacy and the ADR might be.
Great. Others?
Adverse events.
Okay. Anything, literally anything, right? Once the medicine has been introduced into the body of a patient, how the body is reacting to the drug, the vitals of the patient, whether it is fluctuating or not, the ADRs, the SAEs, right? AEs, anything, how the BABE of the of the drug. So every detail about that particular subject, once the medicine is introduced into the body, to see how the medicine is reacting in the body, those datas are collected. Clear? Now, My second question is, do you think that if by any chance, if there is any mistake in collection of the data of, or if there is any mistake uh, in the data, is that going to impact the clinical trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right. And what do you think, how, what could be the impact of the bad data collection? Okay, the impact of a bad data collection. So as you already have an idea that what sort of data that we collect, for example, if any information or any data that we collect from the patient by any chance is wrong, ultimately the data that we submit to the regulatory bodies further for them to evaluate whether the drug is efficient or is safe to use for the human purpose or not is also going to be impacted. Able to link it? For
Right.
example, okay, for example, when I have first decided that I am going to work on this particular ABC drug for XYZ disease, right? Now, for ABC drug to work or to cure the XYZ disease, even before I start or even before I recruit the subjects or recruit the patient, I as a researcher should have an idea how the what should be the action of the drug, right? How the drug should behave so as to have an impact on the patient, right? I just cannot simply shoot in the dark saying that I will just discover a medicine which will cure the headache, right? Before I even recruit the patients, I should have a clear idea what could be the possible risk associated with the drug, how the drug can be actually beneficial to the subjects. There should not be any sort of possibilities wherein the risk associated with the drug is more than that of the benefits, right? If that is the case, there is no point in doing that experiment and actually manufacturing the drug, isn't it? Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, for example, before I have already recruited the patients and I have already have an idea, a general or a fair idea that my particular medicine is going to behave in a particular way wherein there are 8 risks but 12 benefits, right? In that case, I can still think of going ahead and doing the experiment or doing the clinical research. I can still recruit the patients. I will do some sort of feasibility experiment even before that. So there are a lot of things involved which we'll come across in our next classes. So what I mean to say over here is, so as we collect the data, for example, I have given the medicine to my patient. Medicine is not behaving the way I'm expecting it to behave. Okay. In that case, or for example, I have collected the data where I can see that the negativities about the medicine is more than what I'm expecting. In that case, if I'm putting that data in front of the regulatory body where they're going to go and check whether the medicine is actually beneficial or not, they're not going to approve the medicines, right? Because that is actually showing that my medicine is harmful rather than it is actually creating any impact on the patient in a benefit, right? So, for example, if the data that I am collecting is not correct, or is there if there is any mistake which is actually showing that the data is showing the negative side of the medicine more than the positive side, this is actually going to impact the clinical research. My medicines or my study might not be even approved by the medicine by the regulatory bodies. What is the point? If there are no benefits, there is no point of doing the research, isn't it? So that is why a complete silence. Either you have understood or you have not understood. Did you understand?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am. Yes.
So that okay, okay. So that is what I'm saying. For example, if the data that I have collect, or if whatever data I'm writing, whatever numbers I am writing, whatever vitals I am writing from the patient, if I am not writing the correct numbers, it is going to impact the clinical research, or it is going to impact the study, because ultimately that is going to stop the research from continuing any further. The regulatory bodies, the other bodies who are involved in passing the the clinical research, they will not pass the research, and for some reasons or for many reasons they might even ask the researchers to stop the research then and there. And if that happens, then there will be a loss of reputation, there could be loss of finances, because billions and crores of, like, if I have to talk in terms of INR, crores and crores of money are involved in that. So there are loss of finances as well, loss of labor, and so much more is happening behind that. That is the reason CDM is one of the most vital department, and it's very very important to work with the numbers, to work with the data in such a way that it is directly linked with ultimately whether the study is going to be passed or not. The data managers, that is why they play a vital role in overseeing the data collection, whether the data that they are collecting is the right or wrong. They are going to clean the data. Cleaning the data means the corrected data are going to be collected, the wrong ones are going to be left out. Database management, which we will talk about later, what is database and what is managing the database. So all these things are taken care by the clinical data managers. The clinical research scientists, they design the protocol, they are going to analyze the data, interpret the results, then they are going to publish those findings in the scientific journal. They play a crucial role in advancing the medical knowledge and contribute to evidence based medicine through their research. Along with that, this kind of, like, interpreting the result, designing the study protocol, analyzing the data, uh, publishing the results in scientific journals. So we also have some one department known as medical writers, if you are aware of that. So they are going to break down the terminologies into scientific medical terminologies, and they are going to break it down in a way so that it is understandable in a language, in a certain language which is understood by the regulatory bodies, so that they are going to pass the clinical trial once they have all the data right ready in front of them. So that is where the clinical research scientist's responsibility comes in. Medical monitors, they focus on the patient safety during the clinical trials. They review their adverse events, assess patients' well-being, and recommend study adjustment based on their medical expertise. Their role is crucial in safeguarding and well-being of the study. So basically, they are the monitors who are working closely with understanding the safety of the patients during the trial. They will monitor if there are any adverse drug reaction, if there is any adverse event, if there are any serious adverse events or not. Accordingly, they are going to keep an eye on the data that are collected, and in between, if there are any sort of adjustment required to make a to change the protocol or make any amendment in the way of conducting the study, they, based on their expertise, they can even do that. Finally, one thing which is not mentioned over here is the pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance, as you already know, or if you break down the terminologies, that pharmacovigilance, like you are going to be vigilant about the activities of or the performance of the medicine. There they are going to check whether the medicine is performing well in vast group of patients, or sorry, vast group of humans when it is in the market. What are the complaints related to that? So those, they are going to be very vigilant about the activities of that as well. So that is where the PV group comes into action. So these are a very few example of the diverse career options available. The professionals with qualifications or experience in the industry can explore these roles and find rewarding career in opportunities. So few of the CRCs or the CROs, sorry, CROs, that is the contract research organization or clinical research organization. If you have heard of the name LabCorp, IQVIA, we have PPD, we have LabCorp was previously known as Covance, we have Seniors Health, we have PSI Argo. So there are lots and lots of CROs. There are pharmaceutical industry themselves who works as a sponsors. So yeah, they are here, and they are the one who conducts the clinical trial, and that's how the medicines are there in the market, and it will keep on it will be there as long as human population is there. Any doubts? Do you have any doubts? Am I audible?
Yes, of course you are audible. Well, I think the students are not ready to speak up. So, Alok, Prerna, Arsit, Misbah, if you have any question, any doubt, you can just speak up and just even discuss, not doubts only. You can discuss your queries or anything in your
Yeah, yeah.
mind. You can stop sharing the screen, Pasali.
Sorry.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, now I am a student. So when
Mm-hmm.
I join clinical research, I will be fresher. So what
Mm-hmm.
job role will be given to me in clinical research industry?
What job you meant to say is, it depends on what interest you have, right? As I told you, I have given you the career options that you have in this. See, clinical research, as I have told you in the beginning of our this session, that it's a vast field. You can work as a project coordinator, you can work in the centralized monitoring team, you can work on the PV team, you can work in the CDM team, depending on what specialization that you take and depending on what sort of interest that you have. And when you talk in the terms of being a fresher, so today was just the introductory session. So as we move forward, you will have a proper idea of different departments that we have just talked about in our previous slides. So depending on that, the more understanding you have, you will understand what sort of interest you have, right, in which department you want to go to.
I think his question was like, what the job roles in the clinical research department. I think it was the question, Harshit.
Ah, yes, sir, in clinical research department.
He was specific to the clinical research department. So, as at the entry level. So,
You can like, as an entry level you can work. There are various, and it also depends on organization to organization. The roles and the designations actually varies. So you can work as a project coordinator, you can work in the different site management team, study startup team, where you will be involved in the initial phases of the clinical trial. You can work as a site management team, wherein the during the clinical trial what happens. So those are the opportunities that you will have.
Okay, ma'am.
yeah, it was very nice presentation, Pasali, about like the future prospect of the clinical research industry. And I hope like students could have gained insights about the industry and they can prepare themselves for the career ahead. So, any questions, any doubt you want to the students you want to have like Alok, Prerna, Harshit, and Mispa? I think they don't have any question as of now because I understand this is a very first orientation session, so they are blank in their mind. And but there's one thing I would be expecting from all of you, that once the regular classes are scheduled, it will be in the evening sessions, and please be on your camera all the time, because we don't want it to like waste our times and your effort also. Once you will be on camera, because even see, sometimes you might be getting online interview opportunity, and if you're not comfortable working on camera, you cannot clear your interview. So it's a like digital world. Even like if you work in the corporate, many times you have to face people on camera, because might be your manager sitting somewhere in US, or even in India you are working from Delhi or Bangalore or Pune, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and your manager is sitting somewhere else in some different remote location, and he or she will be like discussing with you, and it should be always on camera. So until you are not prepared to handle all the situations, this is not a degree program, just not a normal graduation or normal the regular classes. This is completely job oriented training, and not only the theoretical part or the software training, it's all about the overall development, personality development. And until you are not ready, you are not ready to change yourself, industry is not going to adapt yourself. Just joining any course, any class through any institute will not serve the purpose. You have to fight yourself, you have to put your effort to make you job ready. India is highly competitive market, and there are thousand times more candidates, quality candidates are available than the jobs are available. So it cannot happen with just like very lethargic and laid back attitude. You have to own your toes. And so I expect you to dedicate one corner of your house where whenever there's a class, be like on your laptop, try to learn from your laptop. I know a lot of people are joining from mobile, but this should not be like happening. You should be joining from a laptop. The larger screen should be there, so you can understand each and every topic, and you should be on camera all the time. I think yeah, Pasali, any like input from your end?
No, you have covered all the things. So I am quite excited to meet you guys again tomorrow.
Hmm.
And please be on camera. I really want to see all of you with whom I'm talking. Otherwise, it becomes little bit, monotonous on my end as well. I hope you understand. It's quite, we have never seen each other, right? So it becomes really interesting to, at least if you come on camera, we can have a fun interactive session. It's not just, we should not just have it as a class, like, in college or school. You can ask me questions about the industry. I can understand what you know about it, what interests you, and all of those things. So just make it as interactive as possible. That's all is what I actually am requesting from all of you. I hope you will keep my request.
Yes, certainly, certainly. So thank you so much for the session, and there will be many more students who will be joining this batch, because like a lot of people are working today, and there are many who are like on leave for the year end. So we'll be starting the session in the next 1 or 2 days. The regular session will start, and till then prepare yourself, do more research, study from your end also, do some basic go through the internet and search for the terminology that we discuss all the time, and there will be a lot of assignments and everything on your LMS, so you will be getting the access of the LMS very soon. And so thank you for joining this orientation session, and we'll be meeting again very soon, within a day or two. So thank you, Pasali, for just such a wonderful session, and thank you
Thank you
again.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
everyone for joining.
yeah. So
Thank you, ma'am.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. So you may leave now.